Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be taking a look at the future of Brazilian football star Wesley. You know, you sent over a really fascinating mix of articles for this one. We got hardcore sports news like Globosport.com, all the way to like fan-driven blogs like Coluna Blue Flag. So, yeah, lots to unpack here. Let's dive in.
Yeah, and going through all this, it's clear to me that this isn't just about some raw talent. This kid, he's got a story.
Okay, so set the stage for us here. Who is Wesley? And why is everyone making such a fuss about him all of a sudden?
Well, we're talking about a 21-year-old right back playing for Flamengo. And get this, he almost left for Italy earlier this year. Deal with Atalanta was on the table. Actually got pretty far down the line, but it fell apart in the end.
Oh, man, that's going to be tough, especially for a young player. How do you deal with that kind of setback?
And that's the thing. He didn't just deal with it, he thrived.
Yeah.
Flamengo brought in Felipe Luis as their new coach. And Wesley, he became a core part of their game plan. That Copa do Brasil win, huge part of that.
Now, that's what I call turning lemons into lemonade. But okay, let's get down to brass tacks. What's all this talk about a $25 million price tag?
Well, it's interesting because just a few months ago, Atalanta was supposedly willing to shell out $20 million. Now, Flamengo's saying minimum $25 million. And honestly, it's not just because of that Copa do Brasil win.
All right, so what's the deal? What happened? Why the sudden price jump?
A few things, really. First, you've got Wesley's performance, right? He's gone from promising youngster to, like, seriously reliable player, delivering week in, week out. Then there's all the rumors, all the whispers of Premier League clubs showing interest. And that always drives up the price. You know how it is. And then, on top of all of that, Flamengo got smart. They bought up a larger chunk of his economic rights. They own 90% now, which is huge. Basically, they hold all the cards now when it comes to negotiation.
Hold on. For those of us who aren't, fluent in football finance, what does owning economic rights actually mean?
Well, that's a great point. It's not about owning the player, right? It's about owning a percentage of any future transfer fee. So, like, when a club comes in with a big offer for Wesley, 90% of that cash goes straight to Flamengo. It gives them massive leverage when they're negotiating with these clubs. We saw something similar when Neymar went to PSG. His old club, Santos, they still got a cut because they held on to a few of his economic rights.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Now I got to ask about, the big name that keeps popping up in these articles. Barcelona, they were already interested in Wesley back in 2023, even before this breakout season he's having. So what's the deal there? Why are they so keen on this kid?
So here's where we got to dive into Barcelona's strategy a little bit.
Yeah.
They're famous for going after young talent, right? They nurture them, turn them into superstars. Messi, Iniesta, Xavi all came up through their youth academy, La Masia. And they obviously see that same potential in Wesley, but it's not just about talent. They've got needs on the field, too.
What do you mean?
Well, Barcelona's been struggling at right back for a while now. They desperately need someone with Wesley's energy, his attacking mindset. Someone who can not only defend, but contribute to that tiki-taka style of play that they're famous for. And let's be real, signing a hot, young Brazilian star. It's a marketing goldmine. Think of all the shirts they could sell. But there's a bit of a catch.
There's always a catch, isn't there?
So Barcelona, legendary as they aren't exactly rolling in cash right now. They've had some financial issues these past few years, which makes a big signing like Wesley, well, a bit trickier. They might want him, yeah, but can they actually afford him, especially if there's a bidding war? That's the question.
And speaking of bidding wars, we can't forget about that mystery Premier League club that's supposedly lurking in the shadows.
Right.
Any guesses on who it could be?
Ooh, now that's where things get really interesting. If we're looking at teams that really value that high-press, attack-heavy style like Flamengo, and also who are in desperate need of a good right back. Well, a few names come to mind. Think like Liverpool, maybe even Man City. They might be looking to replace Kyle Walker soon, thinking long-term.
All right, so we've got Barcelona, maybe not, a Premier League team. Who knows? Sounds like Wesley's got options. But one thing's for sure, Flamengo is playing this very carefully. They've got this Project Wesley thing going on. What's the deal with that?
It's like they're taking a page right out of the Vini Junior and Paquetá playbook.
Ah, okay.
Remember those transfers? They made a killing. Looks like they're hoping to do the same with Wesley.
So the plan is to wait for him to blow up even more, become an even bigger star, and then cash in.
Exactly. They're hoping he'll make the Brazilian national team, which would be massive for his value. And speaking of big stages.
You're talking about the 2025 Super Mundial de Clubs, right? Flamengo will be there. Wesley's going to be a key part of that team.
Right. And this is where it gets a little tricky, you see. They could hold off on selling him until after that tournament. Hope that a great performance on the world stage sends his price tag through the roof.
Yeah, that makes sense. But isn't that a huge risk? What if he gets injured? Or what if, his form just dips?
Exactly. It's high risk, high reward. Flamengo is trying to squeeze every last euro out of this, but it could backfire. And for the clubs that want to buy him, well, waiting means they're taking a gamble too. He could become the next big thing, or he could fade away. It's a real nail-biter.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. Wesley's gone from almost transferring to becoming a Copa do Brasil champion, attracting some of the biggest clubs in the world. But I guess one question remains.
Yeah.
Is he really worth all this hype? I mean, $25 million for a 21-year-old.
And that's what we're going to be digging into next. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
$25 million. Huh? Is it a fair price? That's the million-dollar question, right?
More like the multi-million-euro question, I'd say. It's a lot of money, even for, the crazy world of football transfers.
Yeah, it isn't. Honestly, there's no easy answer. You got to consider his performance so far, but also his potential. Then you factor in like the transfer market itself, which is always nuts. It's this massive equation with a bunch of moving parts.
All right, well, let's break it down a little. On the one hand, he's playing in a top-tier league, proven himself, helped his team win a major trophy, and he's only 21. That's like a ton of room to grow still.
Exactly. We haven't even seen him hit his peak yet. Imagine it. He could become one of the best right backs in the world. That kind of potential is going to cost you.
But on the other hand, it's been, one really good season? What if this is as good as it gets?
Yeah, that's the risk for sure. He needs to show that he can keep playing at this level, adapt to new challenges, stay injury-free. It's a lot to expect from a young player.
It's like investing in a stock or something, right? High growth potential, but also could totally crash and burn.
Oh, that's a great analogy. And, something we shouldn't forget is the human side of all of this. Imagine being Wesley, 21 years old. Suddenly everyone's talking about you. Millions of euros are being thrown around. And that's got to be a lot of pressure to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to get caught up in all the numbers and the business side of things and forget that there's a real person at the center of this.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that football, even with all the glamour and the money, it's still about people,
Yeah.
These young guys like Wesley, they're navigating this crazy world. Their lives and careers are on the line. It's a lot to handle.
Okay, so back to this $25 million question. If you were, say, a club owner, would you take that gamble?
Honestly, it would depend, It depends on my team, their situation, my long-term goals. Do I need someone who can make an impact right now, or can I afford to develop someone over a few seasons? Lots to consider.
And of course, you've got to think about the competition, too. If you've got Barcelona and a Premier League team both seriously interested in Wesley, that price could easily shoot way up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Transfer fees, it's all about supply and demand, right? If you got multiple clubs all desperate for a right back and he's the best one available, they're going to pay a premium to get him.
It's an auction, basically.
Exactly. And Flamengo knows it. That's why they're playing this so smart, waiting for the perfect moment to, maximize their profits.
But let's say Wesley does end up moving to Europe, right? Do you think he's actually ready for that? It's a whole different game over there.
That's a really important point, actually. It's not just about the money. It's about finding the right environment for him to thrive in. He needs to be playing regularly, continue to develop his game, reach his full potential.
Sitting on the bench at Barcelona or, getting lost in the shuffle at some mid-table Premier League team, that wouldn't do him any good.
Right, exactly. The best case scenario is he goes to a club that plays a similar style to Flamengo with a manager that believes in him. A system that lets him, express his attacking talents. And of course, the cultural aspect is important too. Moving to a new country, especially at that age, it can be tough on and off the pitch.
So where does the whole, Brazilian national team thing fit into all of this? How much would making that squad boost his value?
That's the wild card, right? Wearing that yellow jersey, playing with the best in Brazil, it's a signal to everyone that you've made it.
Especially with the Copa America coming up. If he has a good tournament there, his value could explode.
Absolutely. It's all connected. Good club performances lead to national team recognition, which leads to more interest from top clubs, which leads to bigger transfer fees. It's a cycle.
So for someone who might not be, following Wesley's every move. What makes him stand out? What should they be watching for?
Well, first of all, he's incredibly dynamic when he's going forward. He's not your typical right back who just sits back and defends. He loves to get involved in the attack, overlap with the wingers, get those crosses in.
He's got that Brazilian flair, that attacking mindset. It's what makes them so fun to watch.
Exactly. But he's not just an attacker. He's also a really solid defender. He's got pace, strength, good tackling ability. He's a modern fullback, comfortable doing it all.
And we can't forget about that mental toughness we were talking about earlier. Bouncing back from that failed Atalanta transfer, becoming a key player for Flamengo. It shows a lot about his character.
Yeah, that resilience, that's huge. It shows he's got the drive, the ambition to succeed, the ability to handle pressure, and that's something you can't teach.
Sounds like he's got all the tools to become a top player, world-class talent. But like you said, potential is one thing, actually reaching it is another.
It all comes down to him now.
Yeah.
Really. He's at this crucial point in his career. The choices he makes now are going to be massive.
Which brings us back to that 25 million question.
Is it a fair price? Well, we'll have to wait and see how the next chapter unfolds.
And speaking of the next chapter, we're about to dive into the biggest one of all, the 2025 Super Mundial de Clubs. All right, so the 2025 Super Mundial de Clubs, the big one. How does this tournament play into all of this, Wesley's future, that 25 million price tag?
It's like the ultimate test. Wesley playing on the biggest stage against the best clubs in the world, a chance to prove he can handle the pressure, perform against top competition, maybe even lead Flamengo to the title.
And for potential buyers, it's like a glimpse into the future, right? Can he do it on a global level? Can he replicate that success he's had in Brazil?
Exactly. A strong showing at the Super Mundial, it could be the final piece of the puzzle for some clubs. Like the thing that convinces them to open up their wallets and go all in on Wesley. Imagine it. He scores a screamer against Real Madrid, shuts down some superstar attacker. Suddenly, 25 million seemed like a steal.
But, of course, there's always the other side of the coin, right? What if it doesn't go well?
That's the gamble Flamengo's taking by holding on to him. What if he has a bad game? Or two? What if he gets injured? His value could drop. They could miss out on a big payday.
High-stakes poker, huh?
Exactly. They're going all in, hoping to win big, but they could also lose it all.
Going through all these articles, one thing really stood out to me. Wesley's story, it's not just about football, is it? It's like a perfect example of how this whole industry works. The ambition, the money, the dreams of a young player, the calculated risks a club takes, it's all connected.
It really is. Wesley's journey, it's like the essence of what makes football so fascinating, It's not just about the matches. It's about everything that happens around them, the stories, the business, the global stage. It all comes together in this, beautiful, crazy sport.
All right, so as we wrap up our deep dive here, let's turn it over to you, our listener. We've looked at Wesley's rise, the things that are driving his price tag, the interest from those big European clubs, the gamble of the Super Mundial de Clubs. Now we want to hear from you.
Yeah, what do you think?
Do you think 25 million is a fair price? Is he the real deal, or is this all just hype? What's going to happen next? Let us know your thoughts and, keep an eye on this story because it's far from over.
It's going to be a wild ride, that's for sure.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored, the crazy world of football transfers. Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.